Hey, this is Warren Redlick. 2020 has been a tough year for a lot of people, but it's also been a very interesting and in many ways a good year for Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, the Boring Company, and Neuralink, and fans like me and you. But 2021 is going to be an even better year. So let's talk about what's coming in 2021 for Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and the Boring Company, and more. Are you ready? Let's go! The biggest thing that I expect to happen for Tesla in 2021 is we're going to see astonishing growth in vehicle production. We anticipate that in the beginning of 2021, the first week or so of 2021, we're going to learn the number of vehicles total that Tesla delivered in 2020, and it's going to be in the ballpark of 500,000 vehicles. I think it's going to be a little more. It's very hard to predict. Quarter 4 delivery numbers should hit in the first few days of 2021, so we'll have some idea. But what's really big for vehicle production and deliveries is what's coming. Tesla is going from a company with 1.5 factories. Fremont is a full factory, and Shanghai has been half a factory. It is heading towards, by the end of 2021, Tesla will have 4 full factories. Fremont will still be a full factory. Shanghai will be going full blast. Berlin will be mostly developed. There'll be more to come with Berlin, but Berlin will be approaching production rates that are starting to get like a full-blown factory, and Giga Texas will be approaching that. So sometime in 2022, there will be 4 full-blown factories, but we'll be seeing the beginnings of that and the middle of that by the end of 2021. So for 2021, a lot of predictions center around the idea of Tesla will produce a total of 800,000 or 850,000 vehicles. This seems very low to me. Just for starters, Fremont should produce more than 500,000 vehicles. It should produce a ballpark of 300,000 Model 3s and 250,000 Model Ys, and then probably another 50,000 Model S's and X's. And that's assuming they don't add another vehicle to Fremont, although I think they may produce either Roadster or Semi in Fremont as well. Those will be low volume vehicles, so they won't matter a whole lot for volume of production. Shanghai should produce 250,000 Model 3s and 200,000 Model Ys. Well, that's 450,000 in Shanghai and 550,000 in Fremont. That's a million vehicles right there. Maybe there's going to be some shortfall somewhere between Fremont and Shanghai, but to me, that looks like it's going to be approaching a million vehicles and maybe more just on those 2 factories. Add to that Giga Berlin, the Tesla factory that's being built right now in Germany, should be producing and delivering cars by the 3rd quarter of 2021. And I think it's likely they're going to deliver 50,000, maybe 100,000 Model Ys by the end of 2021. And then you've got Giga Texas. Giga Texas is under construction, and they are making progress, and they will be producing Model Ys, and they will be producing Cybertrucks before the end of the year. So Giga Texas should be producing maybe 50,000 vehicles over the course of 21. Probably Q4. 4th quarter, we'll see some production out of there. So that's close to 1.2 million vehicles for Tesla in 2021. And we're going to start getting a picture of that by the halfway point in 2021. We'll start to see how much did Fremont and Shanghai produce in the first half of 2021. Keep in mind, the first quarter of the year is usually a slow quarter, so that's going to be a little misleading. We're going to see low numbers for Q1, and then Q2 will start to pick up, and I think Q2 is going to be the sign. If Tesla produces over 200,000 vehicles in Q2, keep in mind it's going to grow Q3, Q4. If we see 200,000 plus vehicles in Q2, and we might see 200,000 vehicles in Q4 of 2020. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 220 to 250,000 vehicles in the 2nd quarter of 2021. If we see 250,000 vehicles in the 2nd quarter of 2021, that is a clear sign that Tesla is going to surpass that 850,000 vehicle mark and approach a million or more vehicles and maybe get to that 1.2 million number in 2021. The second big thing we're going to see from Tesla, and I think we're going to see it early, is what's been called Project Palladium. That the Model S and the Model X are going to be finally updated. Model S has been around since 2012 without a major update. Model X has been around less time, but still a long time. And the platforms have not been updated in a major way. We are going to see a substantial update in Model S and Model X There'll be two big things about the update. Number one, the vehicles will start using structural battery pack and the 4680 cell lines. That means that the vehicles will be a lot more efficient. They will be more weight efficient or mass efficient. They will have higher energy density batteries. The other thing is one of the problems between Model S and Model X has been that the two vehicles are different and there's a lot of differences, so it's harder to produce them in volume. They're both relatively low volume vehicles, but they lose a lot of economies of scale because they don't share as many parts. So I think we're going to see Model X and Model S are going to get a lot closer to each other. There's going to be more parts sharing, and that's going to help economies of scale with both vehicles. So my expectation for maybe the first quarter of 2021, because they shut down the lines right now, when they reopen the lines, this would be a good time. If they're taking about 3 weeks, this would be a good time to transition over to structural battery pack. And keep in mind, we know that they're planning to do Plaid Model S by the end of 2021, and Plaid Model S is going to have structural battery pack. So sometime between now and the fourth quarter of 2021, Tesla has to convert Model S over to structural battery pack. Now seems like a pretty good time. One of my reasons for saying this is going to happen is because of the 4680 cell lines. Tesla is already producing 4680 cells, the new cells, with high nickel chemistry. They've already been producing these in some volume. It's not enough volume for a Model Y line or a Model 3 line because those are higher volume vehicles. But the volume they're producing is enough for the fairly low volumes of Model S and Model X, and it's a good fit for Model S and Model X because they're high-end vehicles, and the current generation of 4680 cells are relatively expensive, so putting them in an expensive vehicle makes sense. So I'm predicting a Model S long range with over 500 miles of range, 520, maybe 550 miles of range. And initially, because of this changeover and because they're using the expensive cells, and it's a relatively new thing, we're going to see a price jump for Model S. Model S has seen price cuts, and I think that was to clear out the inventory, which is now apparently cleared out. I've done searches. It's really hard to find a Model S in inventory because they basically sold them all. So they convert to this new Model S, and they can jump the price. And now it's going to be, instead of $69,420 for a Model S long range, it's going to jump to $80,000 initially. And it's now going to have a lot longer range, and it's going to have a lot better characteristics in a lot of ways, and it's going to be updated. So we see a jump in price to $80,000 for the Model S with the high nickel cells. And we see the Model X will reach 500 miles of range, and it's going to cost $90,000. These are the predictions. I'm going to make a bunch of predictions in this video, and at the end of the year, we can come back and look and see how I did. And I think late third quarter, possibly early fourth quarter, the Plaid Model S will finally be out. The tri-motor Plaid Model S will be lightning fast. It's going to be $140,000. You can already order it on Tesla website. That's going to have 520 miles of range, and it's going to be 0 to 60 in about 2 seconds. It's going to be amazing. Maybe 1.9 seconds. And I can't wait to see what this thing does on the Nürburgring. It's probably going to do a sub 7-minute lap on the Nürburgring. Now, something I don't think a lot of people see coming, and I see it coming, is later in the year, towards quarter 3, late quarter 4, Tesla, in partnership with probably LG Chem or maybe Panasonic, will start using new 4680 cells using the nickel manganese chemistry that isn't as high energy density as the high nickel chemistry that Tesla's making. And those will cost less. They'll be able to make more of them. And we'll see a nickel manganese Tesla Model S and a nickel manganese Tesla Model X. The Model S will achieve 450 miles of range with the nickel manganese cells, and they'll be less expensive, and they'll be able to get the price of that down to $65,000. The Model X with nickel manganese will hit 420 miles of range, and it will cost $70,000. So what we're going to see is that Model S and the Model X are going to start competing even more effectively in the luxury segment, because the lower end models will reach down and compete with even, not just with the Mercedes S-Class, but start competing with the Mercedes E-Class, and not just with the BMW 7 Series, but start seriously competing with the BMW 5 Series and vehicles like that, taking a step down and taking a cut out of the larger mid-range luxury vehicle market.
1, 2, 3.
Turning to the Boring Company, we already know that the Boring Company is making good progress in Las Vegas, and they are going to open up the Las Vegas project at the convention center. They're going to be expanding and tunneling extensively in the Las Vegas area and building this large network of tunnels that will serve a big chunk of the community, delivering fantastic transportation at low cost, turning 15-minute commutes into 3-minute commutes. So that's already in the planning stages with the Las Vegas City Council. That's coming. We're going to see a lot of progress on that. A lot of that system will be close to complete by the end of 2021, and a lot of people in Vegas will be using it more. A substantial chunk of that system will come online, serving a larger percentage of the Las Vegas population. Las Vegas Boring Company project is really important for the future of the Boring Company because Las Vegas is a tourist destination. And as more and more people visit Las Vegas and experience the Boring Company project, they're going to realize how great it is, and they're going to want it in their own cities. This is still iffy, but hopefully the Boring Company's project in Ontario, California, connecting the airport to the train line will happen. They will get approval for it. It will get started. Hopefully that will finish by the end of 2021. That's not a game changer for raising public perception of the Boring Company, but it is a great example of a simple project that will be very useful for a large number of people in a fairly large populated area. Ontario, California is in the greater Los Angeles metropolitan area. We're also going to see, it looks very likely that Tesla will be building a Boring Company project in Austin, Texas, which makes a lot of sense because Giga Texas is going in Austin. Tesla has a lot of other activities in Austin, Texas, and eventually Elon is going to want to extend this loop project in Austin down to Boca Chica, where the SpaceX spaceport is going to be. It's a longer-term project to connect down to Boca Chica, but we're going to see a big project in Austin, Texas. And Austin is a big college town. It is the home of South by Southwest, so it does get a fair amount of tourism. It's another great showcase for how cool and wonderful the Boring Company projects can be. Again, spreading the word so more and more people will say, hey, we want something like this here. At the same time, the Boring Company gets more experience, gets better iterative design, iterative engineering, and they get better and better at doing this. Right now, I think they've got the cost of tunneling down to about $5 million a mile. I think they're going to get that cost down to $4 million a mile or less. And that progress makes it easier to do more projects. I don't think we're going to see other Boring Company projects make any material progress in 2021. It's possible we'll see something announced, and I would say Orlando, Florida is a really good place for the Boring Company to look at. Number one, it's another big tourist destination with Disney or Universal Studios. It's a growing population. There is a lot of traffic, and you can solve a lot of traffic problems by putting boring loops into Orlando. And it's near Canaveral, which is another SpaceX location. So it would really make a lot of sense to run Boring Company tunnels from Orlando out to Canaveral. And also, it's close to Tampa. So connecting Orlando and Tampa and Canaveral makes a lot of sense for SpaceX's operations, Tesla's operations, and for the community. And it would be wonderful for Florida. I'm a Florida resident. I don't live near Orlando, but it will be a wonderful thing for Florida to see that. And eventually, I think we're going to see a loop tunnel coming from Orlando down here to South Florida, going under the Everglades. Check out my video here where I talked with a Florida geologist about the prospect of tunneling in Florida.
We only got 4 minutes to save the world.
Speaking of SpaceX, a lot is going to happen with SpaceX in 2021. Elon has said that Super Heavy, the booster for Starship, will begin testing in a few months. The booster is what is really necessary in order to get Starship into orbit rather than just doing simple flights. We know that serial number 9, Starship serial number 9, is already on the pad getting ready to be launched, and we learned that there are 2 launch pads, and it is on launch pad B. So Tesla is getting ready to increase the frequency of testing, and serial number 9 should be launching soon, possibly before the end of 2020, but we will see serial number 9 testing, SN9 testing in 2021. SN10 is about ready to go as well. And there's a series of Starships in development, including SN15, which is going to be a big jump. There's going to be a lot of changes and improvements in SN15, and that is probably going to start flying in January. And my hunch is that SN15 or something much like it is what's going to be the first Starship to fly on top of Super Heavy. So Super Heavy is going to do some hops in a few months, so maybe March or April, and my prediction is by the end of second quarter. So by June of 2021, we will see Super Heavy used as a booster with the Starship on top of it. And by the end of the year, there will be roughly 5 Super Heavies ready and operational to launch Starships in orbital flights.
This is Mambo number 5.
So I predict by June we're going to see the first orbital launch and landing of a Starship. Starship is going to be put on top of a Super Heavy. The Super Heavy booster is going to take it up to a certain altitude at a certain velocity. They're going to have stage separation. Super Heavy is going to come back and land at Boca Chica, and Starship is going to go into orbit. It will do an orbit, and it will come back, and it will land again at Boca Chica. And I'm predicting that's going to happen by June, and it might be sooner. By the end of the year, I expect SpaceX to have a fleet of at least 10 operational Starships, mostly cargo ships for launching Starlink. But I think we will also see at least one tanker Starship and at least one crew Starship being developed. It won't be launched yet and have crew on it yet, but there will be a crew Starship under development by the end of 2021.
6 feet under.
Another big SpaceX item for 2021 will be a Spaceport Offshore. Tesla has talked about building an offshore platform for Starship. By building it offshore, it makes it, you put it 10 miles offshore, then the launches and landings cause fewer problems for people on land. We live on land. When Starships take off, they're loud. They might blow up, and that threatens the population. When they land, they crack sonic booms on their way down that can break windows and cause problems. Super Heavy is going to have roughly 28 Raptor engines. That's going to be a heck of a lot of power. They're probably going to want to do these launches from offshore, 10 miles offshore or so they're causing less problems for people on land. So I'm expecting that they will actually announce the offshore platform sometime in quarter 2, and it will be operational in the third quarter. So by the end of September, we will see launches going from this offshore platform.
It was worth the 7 days.
So there's a big connection between Starship and Starlink. Starship is going to become operational roughly the third quarter of 2021, and it's going to start launching Starlink in heavy volume. We're going to see every Starship that goes up with Starlink is going to launch 400 satellites. And we're going to see more frequent launches, again with higher volume of satellites in them. So my projection is that quarter 3 on average will be 1 Starship launch a week, launching Starlink satellites into orbit. And quarter 4, we're going to see 2 launches a week. And in December, we're going to see for the first time a reuse of a Starship within 24 hours. That there will be a Super Heavy booster launching a Starship into orbit. It will release the satellites, and it will return to the launch site and be reused again, refueled and reused again within 24 hours. This is partly a test to show it can be done, but that is the plan going forward, is to be able to launch Starships with rapid reusability, which was Elon's goal. These Starships and Super Heavies are designed not for a few launches, not for 10 launches, but for 1,000 launches each. And if they can achieve that kind of volume, then it dramatically lowers the cost of launches, launch costs per kilogram. You can check out my video where I talk about why Starship matters for money and how much it lowers the cost of launch and what that means.
8 days a week.
So Starlink is going to be huge for SpaceX. This is where we're going to be at the end of 2021. With that launch frequency that I described in the second half of the year, we're going to see a total of 15,000 Starlink satellites in orbit. And they will be serving a ballpark of 15 million customers, paying a ballpark of $100 a month. Since it starts small and achieves a lot at the end, it's an annual run rate of $18 billion of revenue. But for the year, we're going to see Starlink generate about $5 billion in revenue. That leads us to projections for 2022. By the end of 2021, we'll be able to see a lot of the future of Starlink for 2022. And we can project that by the end of 2022, Starlink's network will be filled out with 45,000 satellites if they don't decide to expand it further. And by the end of 2022, it's reasonable to say that Starlink will have in the ballpark of 100 million customers in 40 countries. That would be a pace of $120 billion in revenue a year, but for the year 2022, it means a ballpark of $40 billion of revenue for Starlink. So Starlink is becoming a monster and it will be even bigger going down the road.
10,000 hours.
Next up, 2021 is going to be a big year for Tesla Giga Factories. Now, I already talked about what production we're going to see, but what does it mean for the factories overall? By the end of 2021, the Shanghai Giga Factory will be complete and fully ramped, and they will probably be producing the beginnings of their own 4680 high nickel cells. The Berlin Model Y factory will be ramping and nearly done with their ramp by the end of 2021. There will be a Model 3 production line in Berlin that will be gearing up and may start production before the end of 2021. The Berlin Gigafactory will be producing 4680 high nickel cells probably by the third quarter of 2021. Giga Texas will be in the early ramp of Model Y. By the end of 2021, Giga Texas will be in the early ramp of Model Y, will have begun production, the very beginnings of productions and delivery of Cybertruck, and I'm predicting Tesla Semi will be produced at Giga Texas as well. Tesla's Fremont factory will pretty much be fully done and producing at full capacity Model Y and Model 3 by the end of the year, and I'm expecting that the Roadster will be produced in Fremont. In very low volumes, it's going to be a low volume vehicle, and so that's why I think it's a good fit for Fremont. The high nickel cell line that's being produced there will serve that as well. As I predicted in another video, I think we're going to see Giga Japan. I think Panasonic is going to build a Terafactory in Japan to make batteries for Tesla's Gigafactory in Japan. There's been a lot of rumors about Indonesia. Very likely that Tesla will announce some kind of operations and possibly a Terafactory in Indonesia. It may be something in partnership with LG Chem or CATL or both, but we're going to see significant operations in Indonesia announced and in progress by the end of 2021. And my gut is that we're going to see a Terafactory in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tesla was looking at Tulsa, Oklahoma. It ended up choosing Austin. But Elon said a lot of nice things about Tulsa. And if you look on the map from Battery Day of the location of the potential Terafactory for producing batteries, it looked to me like it could have been in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or really close. In other Tesla news, we're going to see some new products. We're going to see a lot more details about the Tesla Compact. By the end of 2021, I think we're going to see reveals of the US version or versions of the Tesla Compact, a European model and a Chinese model, all revealed by the end of 2021 to be produced in factories. Probably late 2022 will be started, and deliveries will start in 2023 if they're not sandbagging and they don't come out sooner. Another thing that we've been waiting for, and I feel like it's getting closer and closer to happening, is the Tesla minibus. Elon talked about it in the Master Plan Part 2. I made a video about what I think it's going to be, but that's just speculation. But a van that can carry 20 people that is very, very low cost per mile per passenger. So right now we're looking at Tesla Model 3s trending towards 10 cents a mile. If the Tesla minibus can deliver 20 cents a mile for the vehicle and there's 20 passengers, that gets to a cost of 1 cent per passenger mile if you fill it with people. And that means very inexpensive urban transit, and it means very inexpensive long distance transportation as well. I want to touch on Neuralink. It's a small company. It's a small project for Elon and his team, but we're going to see announcements about the first human patients receiving Neuralink implants and the benefits that it achieves for them. I think Elon talked about doing this with paraplegics or quadriplegics, and we're going to see some movement restored. It might be a little optimistic to say we're going to see quadriplegics walking again, but I think it's possible that we're going to see people who are paralyzed walking again, using their arms and hands again, making significant progress. There are other brain diseases that they're working on, so we'll see what else they're able to achieve, and I think we'll hear more about what's coming for Neuralink. We'll see at the end of 2021, or by the end of 2021, we'll hear more about plans for future Neuralink patients and future accomplishments with that. I don't think we're going to get to a new version of Neuralink's chipset yet. I think that's probably coming in 2022. But we're going to see just the introduction of this product in patients, helping people improve their lives and helping to start curing brain diseases. That's coming. And I personally think that Neuralink is quite possibly the biggest. Neuralink is going to have the biggest impact on humanity, on our own human lives and our experience. What this is going to do for humanity is going to be amazing, both in terms of helping people who have problems today, but down the road, helping people who are in relatively good health live better lives, improving our connectivity, and giving us the opportunity to interact on a more even stance with the coming artificial general intelligence or whatever's coming, and making us more productive and giving us happier lives. One of the more exciting things that I think we're going to see in 2021 is SpaceX, and I'm wearing my SpaceX Starship t-shirt. SpaceX is going to announce details of a 2022 Dear Moon mission. Previously, Elon announced the Dear Moon mission with Yusaku Maezawa, and I think we're going to get details of that mission announced. That the plans for what's going to happen, Maezawa is probably going to announce some of the people who are going to be passengers on the ship, the timing of the launch, the path that the launch is going to take, how it's going to work. This is a mission that's going to go out to the moon, orbit around, come around the moon, and come back. And it's a ballpark of a week-long mission where artists and others will get a chance to experience spaceflight and see the moon up close, and will be able to use this to influence their art and create really fascinating new artistic ideas. Along with that and the success of the Starship development platform, I think we're going to start hearing plans for an attempt to do a 2022 Mars cargo mission. That one or more starships will be launching to Mars in 2022. There's a window. You want to go every 2 years. Every 2 years, there's a window when the Earth and Mars get close enough to each other to do this kind of launch. I think we're going to see that happen towards the end of 2022, at least the planning to try to get it done. There's a lot of things that have to come together, including refueling. I think we're going to see that come together, and by the end of 2021, we'll be hearing plans about the 2022 cargo launch to Mars. I think it's going to be more than one Starship going to Mars. I think SpaceX's ability to produce large numbers of Starships, I think that's where it's heading, and there will be a mission, and they will launch a Starship to Mars, and they will land, and it will contain supplies for a future crewed mission, which is going to launch in 2024 or 2026. The key is if they can stick the landing on the 2022 launch, which it would land in 2023, that's how long the trip takes. But if they can stick the landing and actually deliver cargo to the Martian surface, that will inspire a lot of confidence for future launches. And I think there might be one ship that is launched that doesn't land, that follows and is able to observe the landing attempt or attempts and relays back what it sees, because if the first mission crashes, we're going to get limited data. But if there's a ship that's close to it that gets information, it will be able to relay a lot more data back to Earth so we can learn how it went and what went wrong and how we can do better. Batteries are going to be a huge deal for 2021. And what we're going to see is Tesla will have produced at least 10 gigawatt hours of high nickel cells by the end of 2021. The Fremont factory on Cato Road, where they're producing cells now, I think that's going to be the bulk of the 10 gigawatt hours of cells, but we're going to see cell lines in Berlin and Texas and maybe Shanghai that start producing. And I'm predicting by the end of the year 2021, the 4680 high nickel cell lines will have reached 350 watt hours per kilogram of energy density. That's steps towards Elon's projection that in a few years they will achieve 400 watt hours per kilogram. That higher energy density will make Roadster a much more formidable vehicle. It will make Plaid Model S a very, very formidable vehicle. That's what's coming for the high performance vehicles from Tesla, is having that high energy density enables them to have lower weight and higher power and higher capacity. Also on the battery front, we're going to see announcements of more deals with CATL, Panasonic, LG Chem, and possibly other battery providers to make 4680, 46 millimeter diameter, 80 millimeter tall cylindrical cells with lithium iron phosphate chemistry and with nickel manganese chemistry. One of the biggest news items for Tesla outside of vehicles is something that Elon mentioned or hinted at that I think is coming, is we're going to see a significant price drop for Solar Roof, and we're going to see a significant increase in volume for Solar Roof. And I am honestly hoping that this house I'm sitting in is going to get a Tesla Solar Roof by the end of 2021. And yes, if it happens, I will film it. There's a good chance that I will have funding secured for the Tesla Solar Roof in early 2021, and that will lead to the order of the Tesla Solar Roof and power walls, probably 4 power walls for this house. And we're going to see that project happen by the end of 2021. So that's personal for me, because I want a Tesla Solar Roof, because I live in hurricane country, and we get a Cat 5 hurricane, we could lose power. But if I have a solar roof and 4 power walls, I'm covered. The volume of solar roof installation will also increase dramatically. I think we're going to start to see By the end of 2021, I think Tesla will be on a pace to on a 100,000 roof a year pace, which would be 2,000 a week. By the end of 2021, I think Tesla will achieve a pace of 5,000 roofs a week. It will take a while to ramp that up, but over the course of the year, I expect Tesla will have deployed 100,000 solar roof projects, including Powerwalls, at an average price of about $40,000 a project. That would be $4 billion in revenue for 2021, which isn't a huge number for Tesla, but it's important. What's more important is achieving that run rate of 5,000 a week means that solar roof and Powerwall installations combined should achieve $10 billion in revenue for 2022. And this is just another step towards Tesla getting down that road to much higher production, much higher revenue, leading to much higher stock price valuation. Another big thing for Tesla in 2021 that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, but I'm surprised people aren't talking about it, is the FSD version 4 chipset should be released in 2021. In 2019, when they did Autonomy Day, Elon talked about the FSD4 chip and was asked about the next chip. And he said they'd already been working on the next chip for 2 years, and it's usually a 4-year development cycle, which means they started in 2017 and it should be ready in 2021.
You mentioned 14 nanometers as a... I was wondering, wouldn't it make sense to come a little lower, maybe 10 nanometers 2 years down, or maybe 7?
At the time we started the design, not all the IP that we wanted to purchase was available in 10 nanometer, so we finished the design in 14.
It's maybe worth pointing out that we finished this design like maybe 1.5, 2 years ago and began design of the next generation. We're not talking about the next generation today, but we're about halfway through it. That will, all the things that are obvious for next generation chip we're doing.
Thank you. What's the primary design objective of the next generation chip?
We don't want to talk too much about the next generation chip, but it's
Safety.
It'll be at least, let's say, 3 times better than the current system.
And the FSD4 chip, the key details about the FSD4 chip, number one, it will be faster, it will be more capable. The biggest thing is it will use less energy, which will help just incrementally increase range of Tesla's vehicles. Of course, it will be better at the self-driving tasks, but FSD4 chip still isn't at its limit, so that's not necessarily a huge deal. It may be able to process more video. It may be that with the FSD foundational rewrite, there will be some additional features that it will be useful for that, but primarily it's going to be energy consumption and maybe lower cost. Along with the FSD chips, we're going to see Dojo going live by the end of 2021. I think it's going to be in the third quarter 2021. The Dojo is going to go live. That's going to rapidly increase the iterations of the FSD software getting better and better and better. Currently, we see a software release about once a week. I think we're going to see it accelerate to 2 or 3 times a week. And that each step of learning is going to be greater learning faster. So FSD is going to start getting better and better and better. And that's going to lead to, by the end of 2021, I think we're going to see robotaxi networks start operating here in South Florida and Florida generally. For those who don't know, the state of Florida has very favorable laws for self-driving cars and robotaxi networks, even going to the point of prohibiting local governments from regulating them or taxing them. So this is the idea. And it says that they're legal. Self-driving cars are already legal here in Florida. It's only when Tesla is ready to do it and has whatever minimal communications it needs with the state of Florida to get approval. And we're going to see robotaxi live and operating here by the end of 2021 in Florida. I know I'm sounding optimistic, and people say, well, what about regulation? Florida already has a great legal environment for it. I think it's going to happen here.
17. She's sexy and 17.
Some of the big news that won't get reported as much. Tesla's battery suppliers, particularly LG Chem and CATL. LG Chem is a Korean company. CATL is a Chinese company. They will continue expanding their battery production. And that won't get huge news in the media, but that's huge news for Tesla. The more batteries they make, the more vehicles Tesla can make. Panasonic will continue expanding in Nevada. As I said earlier in this video, I would not be surprised to see Panasonic and Tesla announce a joint operation where Panasonic builds Terra Japan to build batteries in Japan, and Tesla announces a Giga Factory in Japan, probably somewhere near Osaka.
18.
Some of the more exciting news that will get a lot of media attention. Cybertruck should start delivering late in the third quarter, and Roadster and Semi should start delivering in the fourth quarter. These will probably all be low volume. At first, I'm figuring that Tesla will ship maybe 20,000 Cybertrucks by the end of the year, only maybe a few hundred Roadsters and a few hundred Semis. They're still going to be working out production of these vehicles. Cybertruck should be a little easier to make in volume. Roadster, I'm expecting to have a really exotic chassis design that I think I've talked about elsewhere. Elon said that 3D printing doesn't work in high volumes, but Roadster will be a low volume vehicle. So I think we're going to see some kind of 3D printed AI designed chassis that will be extremely lightweight, extremely strong, and will lead to incredible performance for Roadster. As a result of all that, and as a part of this, I expect we will see Roadster do the Nürburgring in under 6 minutes. Plaid Model S will do it in under 7 minutes, and Roadster will do it in under 6 minutes. And that's without the SpaceX package that will be coming later. SpaceX package is a plan Elon announced that there will be some kind of compressed gas inside the vehicle with 10 spots where it can be used. This is SpaceX uses this kind of cold gas thrusters in orienting the ship. So that will enable more advanced cornering, more advanced braking, and more advanced acceleration, and even possibly allowing the vehicle to hover or fly. For Tesla shareholders, the big news will be that currently the $600 and some share price will pass $1,000 and achieve a ballpark of $1,200 a share by the end of 2021. Tesla will pass a $1 trillion market cap and be on its way to dislodging Apple as the largest company in the world. I don't know if it's going to get bigger than that. I think it depends on the numbers. If we see Tesla delivering 250,000 vehicles in the second quarter, if we see the solar roof numbers increasing, we're going to start to see recognition on Wall Street that, wait a minute, this company is outperforming even more than we thought, and it could drive the share price even higher. But I don't like making short-term price estimates, and I consider the end of 2021 still kind of short-term. But I think we're going to see Tesla's stock price at $1,200 a share or higher by the end of 2021. I wouldn't be shocked at $2,000 a share. If you watch my previous video, I think Tesla's already worth $10,000 a share, so it's going to take a while for the markets to catch up to what Tesla's really worth. But there's my number. I'm predicting $1,200 a share. Not a firm prediction because I don't like making short-term predictions, and the markets are hard to figure out. And number 21 on the personal side, I think Grimes is going to have another baby. So Elon is going to be a father yet again, and we're going to be celebrating another baby with a cute and fun name. And it's going to be yet another great year for Elon and Grimes and everyone else. So I hope you all have a happy new year. I hope you enjoy 2021. Let's have a lot of fun. If you like this video, check out this video I made where I made my earlier predictions for 2021. Let's see how I did. Please support this channel on Patreon. Check out the t-shirts and the other t-shirts in the description below. And thank you for watching.